This demonstration is to go through the time-based line chart, which is now available within the real-time package for Design Studio 1.4. So a prerequisite before we begin is that Design Studio 1.4 is installed, and also the real-time package for Design Studio 1.4 is installed. These can be downloaded from the software marketplace. Once Design Studio 1.4 is installed, you can design the real-time package through Tools and Install Extension to Design Studio, and select in the downloaded package here. To review whether the real-time package is available, go to Help, About, Installation Details, and you'll see the real-time functionality listed here. So time-based line chart is a chart extension to which the streaming data source can be connected. It also can be used to connect to the standard data sources available within Design Studio, such as BW and HANA. And some of the main features are that the chart decouples the plot area from the x-axis and allows spacing in the plot area to be independent from the spacing on the axis. So the data shown in the plot area is placed according to its time dimension rather than index in the data. The time-based line charts can also handle null values. If there is a break in the stream of data for a period of time, the time-based line chart will represent this on the plot area. It joins the points between the null, but it also shows clearly to the user that a period of time has passed. Standard line charts cannot handle null values, and standard line charts will always be evenly spaced, the points on the axis, not based on the time. So I'm going to demonstrate this using a streaming data source. So I have a streaming data source already set up and configured and connected to an ESP data source. For more information on how to do this, please follow the previous demonstration on streaming data sources. Once that is set up, you can then pull in your chart component. And add to your canvas area. Once you've added to your canvas area, you can then connect to your streaming data source or any data source using drag and drop. And you can see immediately the data is displayed. So at the moment it's using the default chart type, which is the column chart, and I'm now going to change this to the time-based line chart. So the time-based line chart is available within the chart component under chart type. Moving down the drop down to additional chart types, and under this list drop down, going down to time-based line chart. I'm then going to select my measures and dimensions. So it is important when you're using the time-based line chart that you have a dimension within your data source which is of the correct format of time. So here I have a time-based dimension, event time, which I'm going to select. And you can now see my time-based line chart. So the time-based line chart also has a number of additional properties which are extra than your normal line-based chart. So you have your time format, which allows you to select the time format that's displayed on your axis. So currently we have hours, minutes, and seconds. So you can see here we can update that to remove hours. So you can change that format as you wish. It also allows you to add grid lines. So you have your major grid lines and also your minor grid lines. And it also allows you to change the type of grid line, so whether it is a line, dotted, or an incised line on both your major and your minor. It also allows you to change the color of either your major or your minor, and on the size of those lines. The user can also, depending on space or how they want to visualize, they can have their ticks on their axis. At the moment they are below by default, but you can move them above the axis. If we move down in our properties, there's also a few more properties that are available. So you have scrolling. So if selected, so as a streaming data source, the user will also always see the data scrolling across once the data is coming in at a regular interval. So at the moment, the data is streaming in this demonstration every couple of seconds. So to the user, the data is streaming. But if they were using, say, a static data source, they could also use this scrolling to ensure that when the data is updating, that there's a smooth scroll across the axis. You can also set a timescale to your scrolling. So if a previous scrolling property is enabled, it sets a timescale that the chart shows. So for example, if it was set to a minute, the scrolling chart shows the previous 1 minute of data. And there's also the ability to set the scrolling time zone offsets. So at the moment this is set to auto, but if the scrolling property is enabled, this sets the time zone offset of the incoming data. So by default, the chart tries to figure this out for itself. So for example, if the incoming data is GMT plus 5 hours, and its time code does not contain the time zone offset should be minus 5 hours. So for any other further information you require on any of these properties, you can review the Application Designer Guide, Designing Analysis Applications for SAP Business Objects Design Studio, and it will give you that information. So now I'm just going to demonstrate some of the key differences between a time-based line chart and a normal line chart within Design Studio 1.4. So if we bring in another chart component, I'm going to connect it to the very same data source. I'm going to select it to be a line chart. Okay, so you can see, and I'm just going to change the properties back. So on top we have our time-based line chart. On the bottom we have our line chart, which is an out-of-box chart within Design Studio. And we can see the data is streaming in both, but you can see that the points of the data are spaced evenly on our line chart. There will always be equidistance between them, whereas in our time-based line chart, they will be based on when they have actually occurred. To see this more clearly, I'm going to go to ESP. And what I'm going to do is just stop the adapter for a couple of seconds. So if I go back to Design Studio, you'll see that there's no stream of data now coming into either of the charts. Both are connected to that stream of data. If I now go back to ESP and I start my adapter again, if I go back to Design Studio, you'll see that the data is now streaming in again, but the difference being that the line chart has begun and the data is now coming in, but it is equidistant. It hasn't shown the period of time that there was no data available and being streamed, whereas the time-based line chart indicates that clearly and also joins those points in time. So it shows a number of seconds where there was no data points coming in, just being streamed. Okay, that ends the demonstration of the time-based line chart. Thank you.